Hello, everybody. Sorry, a bit late. We were so engrossed in talking about the BBC comedy show Staged, which is like this. It's like Zoom meeting comedy thing with uh, David Tennant and Martin Sheen that we hadn't noticed the time.
Indeed, and also we were trying to work out whether we were angrier than they are, and I think it was pretty much a draw.
Yeah.
So yes, indeed. So good evening, everyone.
Everyone.
Hope you are well today.
How are you?
I'm all right, actually. Yeah, I'm okay. It's been a good day, hasn't it?
It's been a busy day for me. I've been working. So
I was thinking about that.
You were thinking?
I was thinking about that Fury, that F4J, and how it was trimmed in orange. But I can't find any orange. It seems to have disappeared. If you can find any orange, then can you just let me know?
Right.
Anyway, everyone, we hope you are well. We've got quite an interesting show tonight.
As befits.
Because we are deviating from our normal shenanigans, which will henceforth be politically neutral.
Let's just move on.
But we've got a couple of kits to look at, which is kind of unusual for us. So we thought we'd do that tonight, just to sort of go through some bits and bobs. As I've sent you photographs, I don't actually know which one you're thinking of looking at first. Which one do you want to look at first?
Well, I thought we would have right. Let me preface this is actually, before we talk about this kit, is we both got a copy. I've got a copy, courtesy of Mr. Tim Maunder. Thank you very much, Tim. You've got a copy.
Courtesy of my bank balance.
There we go. We haven't actually compared notes or even spoken about this yet.
No,
so this will literally be. They'll be interested to see how our impressions actually line up. So, without any more waffle, we have both arrived today. We have the ICM 32nd scale Tiger Moth.
We do indeed have the ICM Tiger.
I must say, is utterly beautiful.
It is indeed. Yeah. It's today has been extraordinary in Tiger Moth world as well, because I ordered one of these yesterday from Hannon's, and I decided to get it 24 hours shipping, so I got it today. And I posted this thing up and sent you, and then you said you'd got one, and then Mike Williams said his arrived today, and then Tim said his arrived. It was just like, have we just en masse bought all of the ICM Tiger Moths in the UK, which it seems extraordinary. I do agree with you, though. It is really, really lovely. I have to say, it's everything I hoped it would be.
Yeah.
And as somebody that always wanted to build a Matchbox kit, but only partly did so, I think it sort of got 2/3 of the way through, and then I ran out of steam slightly. And I've always wanted to build one in 32nd scale. This is now my opportunity to do so, and in actual fact, I will be building this for Brett. So that's the reason why I have one of these. And when I ordered it, I don't know how you felt about it. We'd obviously seen the pictures because we discussed it on here, hadn't we? And we'd seen those sort of pictures, and I thought, oh, what's this going to be like? First thing that struck me when I opened the box was how simple it is.
Yes. The parts count, folks. That's it. You've just seen.
You've seen
the bits. That's it. There's probably more bits in the FX48 scale one.
Absolutely, and I certainly think there might be more bits in the Matchbox kit. It's despite the fact that it's a 32nd scale biplane, it is by design almost the perfect entry kit for people who want to build a biplane in this scale. We talk about Wing Wings biplanes being designed for modelers, but often Wings kits can be quite complex in the way that they're conceived, and because of the levels of detail. This thing is a much more straightforward project, but I don't think it suffers as a result of that, because it is beautifully done, and there is a lot of detail in, but also a lot of scope for personalizing it, which I really liked.
It's unfussy. That's what I like about it. It's unfussy. ICM have. We'll probably talk about this a bit later on, actually. But what ICM have done is they've focused on what they want to do.
Yeah.
and then they've done it extraordinarily well.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, there are a number of things as well that instantly I thought, well, I could do that with this kit. I could certainly do that. One of those things is that the rudder and the fin and the tailplane and the elevators are all one. They're mold. Those two parts are molded in one. So it would be a swift kind of line with a scalpel to separate those two things out and have them move. We mentioned this about the Matchbox advert, where the modeler who built the model for that, he mentions in that Tiger Moths had a tendency to move to one side, so that the rudder was sprung loaded to compensate for that. So that would be something that you could incorporate into this build, which I think would be kind of interesting.
Fred Henderson, wasn't it?
Fred Henderson, yeah, that was the guy's name, yeah. And so instinctively, as soon as the kit arrived, I was looking at it going, yeah, I just quite fancy recreating that Matchbox advert, albeit with an ICM kit. And then I sent a message to Harris Ali and I said, what do you think of this? I'm thinking of doing this. And actually, I think he bought one and it arrived on Saturday. So he's another one that's got one of these. And I thought that would be rather nice. But my mind has moved away from the idea of that. I don't know what you're thinking of doing with yours, but although the color schemes are reasonably nice in the kit, I'm thinking of doing something slightly different with mine, I think. And you are going to talk about the stickers in a minute, aren't you? Yeah. So but overall, it has 3 sprues, 4 sprues if you include the windscreens. Yeah. And it's got sort of 3 sprues that carry everything. It looks like it will be fairly easy to set up as well. You've got the kind of the interplane struts or whatever. You've got the cabana struts, which I'm assuming you'll be able to line up to hold the whole of the wing, and then essentially just trap the separate kind of the sort of interplane struts. Unlike the Matchbox kit, which had, I think, the 72nd scale kit. I'm not sure about the 48th one, but certainly the 72nd scale. I think they were joined together, weren't they, to allow them to line
the
up.
Airfix one, yeah, it's got linked
strut. And then you sort of clip them away. Whereas this one isn't, which will make it a little bit trickier to do, but I don't see too much. The other thing I liked about it as well is that the rigging location points for the rigging are actually molded onto the parts to give you an idea of where to drill should you want to drill those out. Rigging's always a bit of a snag, and it always drives me a bit bonkers. So I'm sort of planning to rig from the top wing and then through the bottom wing, I think, and then remove any excess and sort of clean up the area underneath if needs be. And for the rigging wires on this thing, they are quite noticeable on a real Tiger Moth, so I'd want to be able to do that. But overall, I really like it. I really like it. I think I also think it's pretty good value for money. It's about 35 quid, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that's, although it is simple, and there is, it is actually a remarkably large box for the size of for the number of parts inside. But overall, I think it's really nice. What did you think of it when you got hold of it?
I first of all, just how crisp and clean all the molding is.
Yeah,
it just looks fabulous. And as you say, I looked at it and I thought, goodness me, there really aren't that many bits in this kit. It is inherently a fairly simple aeroplane anyway. But what ICM have done is, as I said, they've looked at it and said, right, this is what we need to go for. They haven't tried to be too clever or too complicated. And they've molded the rudders and the aileron, the tailplanes as one. Some people probably go, oh, I wish they were separate, but get a scalpel and cut them out. Yeah. Probably people say the engine's a bit basic and could do with more detail. Actually, I just view the engine as actually being something less to display, as more just something to sit in there in order to lend a peak of realism rather than actually being a focus itself.
Yeah.
and it'll be interesting. I've yet to really go through everything on it, but it'd be interesting to see what other variants they can. I was about to say spin out of this, because in terms of things, the ones that had the anti-spin strakes and everything. But
yeah,
in terms of the plastic, I mean, the rib detail and everything is just so delicate. It's fabulous. It really is.
yeah.
I really, really like it, and as soon as I can kind of clear some projects out of the way, I will be ploughing on with this, because it just looks terrific. It really does.
I mean, you and I are huge fans of the original Matchbox kit, and obviously fans of the two new Airfix kits, the 72nd scale and the 48 scale one, which are both beautiful as well. But in terms of 32nd scale kit, this thing is head and shoulders above what Matchbox achieved in terms of finesse. It'd be interesting to see how they would look side by side, because I think the Matchbox kit is inherently a very accurate model. So I think it'd be interesting to see how. But in terms of actual finesse of what this one is another step up. But that, having said that, it doesn't offer any more than the Matchbox kit offered. In actual fact, it's very similar in its approach. It has the sort of the basic engine. It has the basic cockpit layout. Matchbox didn't go to any lengths to offer movable control surfaces, I seem to remember, or certainly control surface that could be deflected, whereas similar to this. So in terms of approach, they are very similar, almost, as if ICM have taken a quick peek at the Matchbox kit and thought, yeah, actually, that's probably a good way to approach this without it getting too overblown.
I'd still like to build the Matchbox kit, because it's just one of those ones I'd still like to tick it off the list. Not as a state of the art modeling experience, but just as a kind of a nostalgia thing to actually be able to look at that advert in Airfix magazine and go, I built that model now.
Yes.
But yeah, ICM do have the advantage here of over 40 years of technological improvements. Has clearly rendered, in every sense of the phrase, a superior model in terms of finesse and detail. So,
I mean, certainly if you've got a Matchbox kit, you can maybe initially ring the changes. It is possible that ICM will go down that road, because the Matchbox kit included floats as part of it as well. Didn't it include a glazed canopy as well?
I think it did include the Canadian heated canopy as well. It will be interesting to see where ICM can go with this, because certainly the way the kit is broken down in this kind of modular format, it does offer the possibilities of doing more with it. But yeah, as I say, my first impressions were excellent. Not too many parts, and then it was a case of, and they haven't really compromised on detail. They've really, what they have done it to a very high standard. So fingers crossed it actually follows through. The actual construction side of it is as impressive as the plastic itself is molded.
There's some intriguing inclusions in this as well, one of which I've just noticed. I didn't notice this earlier on. In that there's a masking template included on the instructions for the two windscreens, which I assume what you do is you overlay masking tape over the top of the instructions, and then it shows through the tape, and then you just cut the panels out, which I think is quite a nice idea, actually. Just a nice kind of simple thing, rather than cutting those out.
What you could also do is actually make use the kit parts to make completely new windscreens out of clear acetate, and then mask them.
Yes, and then do them that way and have them small. Also, the rigging diagrams, the rigging diagrams in this seem to be reasonably complete as well. They, yes, they are. They show not only the position of the rigging and the control wires that run down the side of the fuselage onto the tail area. But they also give you an idea of how long each of the wires are as well. So, for instance, if you wanted to, instead of using like a stretchy material, if you wanted to use, say, very, very thin metal wire, you can cut it to length. It shows you the precise lengths, and then just mount it into the holes on the upper surface and lower upper surface of the lower wing and lower surface of the upper wing, and then it shows that as well. So that's kind of nice. I think that's a nice level of detail in this. Shows all.
Yeah, I was going to say some of those main rigging wires are also streamlined as well. So they're not doubled up. They're actually streamlined. So I'm just looking at some photographs here of an actual one. So I think it'd be interesting to incorporate things like the turnbuckles and everything at this scale. You can't really hide from them. But yeah, I think that's probably rigging is probably going to be the trickiest thing in this project. I'm just gonna whiz through some of the comments here because they've been backing up here. And good evening to everybody who's watching. I won't run through you all because I'll be here until Christmas actually saying hello to everybody who's watching. But of the people who have got one, Dave Coward says, mine turned up on Monday, really impressed. Vincent says, click and collect from Hannants on Thursday for mine. I'm just having a quick look down. I think somebody did say something about the turnbuckles, but Mike Williams says, if I believe the float plane GAIVW, if I remember correctly, is unique, only one ever made, the remains of which were in the collection of the Robertsbridge Aviation Society in Sussex, which is very interesting. However, it is not all roses in the garden with this kit, because unfortunately we come to what is the weakest bit of the kit, but also probably the easiest bit of the kit to fix, the decals. Where do we start? A number of errors, unfortunately. And of course, this is almost the first thing I noticed, because the old spider senses start kind of clicking away here, and I went away and actually dug up photographs of the actual aircraft. Unfortunately, they're copyright photographs, so I can't share them on the channel. But I did find a photograph of K2579. It's out there. Just Google K25. I'll put a link up on the page. That's easier. First of all, those are supposed to be Type D roundels, but the proportions are slightly out, and they only have to be slightly out to look odd. And Type D roundels are so easy to do because everything is proportions of 1/3 and 2/3. So, it's frustrating that in 2021, the Type D roundel is still being misunderstood, and you end up with these. Probably a lot of people look at that and think, well, that's perfectly good enough for me, which fine. But it was the first thing I noticed, and I thought, I don't look right. And what I've done is I've actually taken the actual proportions of a Type D roundel and overlaid them onto a scan of the kit decal sheet, which gives you an idea of how little they need to be different, but still be enough to actually just look wrong, or at least look wrong to my eyes. Likewise, the Type C roundels aren't too bad, but again, my eye was instantly drawn to the fact that the white surround just looks a little bit too big, or the red center looks a little bit too small. And again, it's fractionally out. It's a shame because it's the proportions are out there. There's enough online references to get the proportions of these correct. However, most egregious of all are the Type B roundels. ICM have done what Edward have done and what so many people have done down the years, and they've just assumed it's a 50-50 proportion, which is correct for current RAF tactical roundels, but not quite correct for World War II B-type roundels. They did vary, but essentially they did fit to a standard proportion. As you can see here, they've done it as a 50-50 proportion, which is, okay. I'm sure we've all got spare decals that we can, spare roundels that we can all pull if we want to go with the kit schemes. I think my second thing is that both of this, neither of the kit schemes really kind of do anything for me, and I've got my own ideas on what I'd like to do for kit schemes. So perhaps it's no great loss. But also, we'll put, like I say, we'll put the link up of the photograph of the actual aircraft. That's a proper proportion D roundel, and I've sized that to the kit fuselage roundels, and I've also sized the number 9 that goes in the kit. When you actually see photographs of the real aircraft, the number 9 is actually a little bit larger than the roundel, but they've done them almost the same size. So I am going to be hypercritical because I do this for a living, and so I'm immediately looking. There are always things that I look for, and unfortunately, yeah, you can. If you're really not that critical, then you can use the kit decal sheet. There's also just some things with the actual serial numbers as well. I think on K2579, some of the shapes are just not quite there. Certainly, if you are going to build the kit schemes, then you can replace the roundels with ones from the spares box or buy sheets. And and if you're an aircraft model, the chances are you've got existing sheets for Type D roundels and Type C roundels and B roundels, or you'll go out and buy an aftermarket sheet and do one completely different. So, a tremendous effort by ICM to get the plastic right, but unfortunately, they kind of fall down a little bit with the decals, which is a little bit disappointing, but I'm not going to be using those decals anyway, so.
Indeed.
Next slide, please.
So, well, this was sort of my thoughts really on the kit schemes themselves. The one is an aluminium doped aeroplane is essentially one of them. I have the instructions here, so I can show you.
Yeah, I should have scanning them, right?
So that's the one.
Yeah.
And then that's the other one, which is obviously the box art. Okay, so you've got Polish squadron aircraft and training aircraft, and you've also got an RAF one. However, there are some very nice brighter schemes out there, which I kind of like. I'm almost part of me would like to recreate the Airfix 48 scale kit scheme, the one that's on the box with the
checkers,
with the checkers.
Are you mad, man?
And the red, but also there are some nice ones which which are silver, which have got yellow trim on them, sort of like a sunburst kind of thing. There's plenty out there that you could do. You don't have to do these kit schemes.
Yeah, I'm going to say if you're building a Tiger Moth and you can't find a color scheme that you like, chances are you're building the wrong aeroplane.
Indeed, there's like a billion of them, and also I looked on Hannon's site as well while I was purchasing this, and there are 32nd scale sheets out there for Dutch aircraft, for instance, which are rather nice. Which I don't recall ever building an aircraft in Dutch markings. Don't think I ever have, and I quite liked the idea of it. So I may sort of go towards doing something along those lines rather than doing this. But I'm with you. Kit schemes aren't for me. I don't think. I don't like them very much, but it does little to dampen my enthusiasm of the rest of it. I think the rest of it is generally.
Frankly,
really
what I have in mind for mine is to actually cover your ears, Tiger Moth purists. Is actually I quite fancy doing an American one. In RAF camo with American cockade roundels, because I think they look fabulous.
Yes, RAF aircraft, RAF British aircraft in American markings do tend to look very nice. So
although there is, I did see some time back. Apologies for watching. Somebody who absolutely hates model companies doing Spitfires in American markings. He goes ballistic. So
Spitfires look extremely good in American markings.
Extremely good in American markings. It's got to be said.
They really do. So that is the first of our
thumbs up here.
Kits. Yes. Before moving on to the next kit that we're going to look at. I've had a few bits and bobs sent through to me from Ammo, which I thought I'd just mention this evening, if that's okay with you. The first of which is this.
Propeller Planes.
Propeller
144th scale. Right, okay, yeah.
A book.
Oh, that's a book. That is a book.
Yes, and it's...
Good Lord. That's remarkable.
It's basically a book about the Littlies. The Littlies that we love a lot of, and this book has only just been released as far as I'm aware, and it's got some really nice models in it. I'll just go through the list. There's B-29 Super Fortress, Alan Kelly's, Domingo Hernandez's Super Constellation, which is really nice, I have to say. Chris McDowell's Yoo-Hoo, Angel Exposito's ME323, Javier Lopez de Anca's Nakajima Roof. There is Vladimir Demchenko's Spitfire Mark 14, Vladimir Demchenko's 144th scale Sea Gladiator.
Ooh.
Mario Gabas's ME109, Julio Fuentes P51B, and then at the end there is a really nice diorama in 144th scale, which is this one. If I can find the picture to show you that lovely dioramas don't have to actually be in big scales. Check this puppy out.
Good grief.
And the book shows you how to do all of those sort of things. So it's kind of a step-by-step guide. It's really nicely presented, really nicely printed. Paper quality is great. Printing is really nice. So it's available from Ammo's site. So if you're interested in 144 scale aircraft, and frankly, who isn't? Because some of the nicest models, especially at the National, some of the nicest models at the show with 144 in the competition. I really like this scale. I think it's great, and it just goes to show what's possible from these tiny little models. If you're interested in that sort of stuff, I really can recommend this book. It's great, really nice. Second thing that they sent over was...
Didn't send me anything.
Yes, well, you just...
Mind you,
is
I got
this
kits for Christmas. So, oh no,
well, yeah. How many presents did you get?
Let's move on.
I didn't get from various people. Is this, which is a fairly pedestrian thing to get? It's essentially a bunch of, I think they're probably A5 sheets, slightly larger than that. Certainly not A4, A5 sheets, masking sheets. I've also got another set of these, but the difference between that set and this set is that these are covered in 1 millimeter grids.
Yes,
which makes them very useful in terms of creating square sections for and lining up masking on models. The other thing it's very useful for, which has just occurred to me, is for creating digital camouflage.
Yes, that's a very good
because point. The grids mark out where everything is if you want to create digital camouflage, and you cut it out. Now, obviously, that will be a complete pain to do, but very useful. Inside this pack, there are how many sheets? 5. There are 5 sheets in this. The plain sheets are essentially the same masking material. Kabuki tape or whatever it's called. There seems to be some debate as to whether this yellow is actually called that. And it's very useful for, if you want to create circle templates, and also very useful if you want to run it through a printer as well, because you can create the masks, scan instruction sheets, create the masks, run the sheets through the printer, and you get your masking sheets, which is really good. Just come out. So yes, very good. And
for those of us who have cutters.
And for those of you who are in the 21st century and not in the 1970s like I am. And finally, I haven't tried these out yet, but I will mention them this evening. I have a bag of paints.
Oh,
we mentioned these sometime last year.
Oh, these are dry brush paints.
These are the dry brush paints.
So
there are, in this pot here, there are Ammo Miguel has sent 4 different colors in here. Sent light metal, which sounds really useful, light gray, earth, light olive green, which is kind of like a very pale earthy color, and medium blue. And so basically, I took a look at inside these. They kind of have the thickness of almost like a tube acrylic. That's the sort of the best way to describe
very much.
it.
They very much sound like the kind of stuff that Games Workshop make.
Much thicker than that.
Much thicker than that. All right, okay.
Yeah.
Goodness me, that is thick.
Okay, it's not dripping off there. So that gives you an idea of sort of what this is like. And so what I'm planning to do is I want to do another little vignette. But I'd like to do some groundwork where I dry brush it all up and sort of bring it up that way. So I'll give these a go. I think there's quite a range of these, quite a lot of colours within this range. I know there was slightly raised eyebrows about the idea of these when they first came out. Why don't you just use normal paints and dry brush and all that sort of stuff? But I have a tendency to think that they may be very useful, certainly in terms of what's possible for groundwork. I'm thinking I'm not sure I would necessarily use these for anything like vehicles or aircraft or anything like that, but I think for scenery and groundwork, I think these would be very useful. Buildings in particular. I'm looking forward to maybe using some of these on especially that pale grey on some of the foam buildings. Also, the pigment in these is really nice. This is the silver. Here, the light silver, and the pigment's really nice. It doesn't seem that granular. So overall, quite impressed with these. I'll give them a go. I'd like to give them a go as part of a project if I can, a little still life or something like that, and then I'll report back to you at some point in the near future. So those are the new paints that have come through, the book and the masking film. So thanks very much to Ammo and to Miguel for sending those over. Very, very kind of you.
Well, we have a comment here from Jason Champion. He says, going for a Civil War bird, tiger moth, so we'll cut mask. Didn't realise the issue with decals. I could probably live with those roundels, to be honest, though. But Spanish Civil War one, that is a scheme and a half. That's yeah, I like the sound of that. And Dave Fleming says, Burma Volunteer Air Force, dark green, dark earth over aluminium, minimal markings. Okay, yeah, I like the sound of that. Yeah, as I say, you are not going to be short of colour schemes for a tiger moth, because
a Southeast Asia one would be nice as well, aren't they? Blue and white roundels.
Yeah, I'm trying to think whether Southeast Asia Command, try that again, get my teeth in, Southeast Asia Command actually did operate tiger moths. I know
I'm sure I came across a picture of one or a photo. I might be mistaken, but I'm sure I came across something.
Yeah, we'll have a search for that. Also, just a quick thing to say about ICM. You got to love them when they include this in their kits. That did make me smile. And also,
I have to say,
service.
As someone who isn't a particular, I'm not a pet owner or anything like that. I'm not sure I would see the funny side of that. So, but I agree. It is a rather nice addition to the box, even if it would mean he would spend the rest of the year in the doghouse. So,
and suddenly we're losing viewers left, right, and centre here. This is worse than Kiss fans. You just start dissing dogs. That's it.
Oh yeah,
viewership tanks completely.
I'd forgotten about the Kiss debacle. Yeah, I got myself into a bit of bother.
Yeah.
Kissgate. I got myself into a bit of bother over that. I regret nothing.
That was one of those. It was just one of those crazy nights. So let's move on, shall we?
Indeed.
Now, this is a kit you have. I haven't got this at the moment, but I am going to rectify this at some stage this year, because this feeds into what we've been talking about, the artisan manufacturers, to quote Mr. Dave Fleming. And you have bagged a copy of...
One of these, a Hurricane Mark 1.
Now, this isn't a Sea Hurricane. This is a standard land-based Hurricane, but in Royal Navy markings.
Indeed. Although the kit does include a Sea Hurricane as an option, but that's not the prominent part of the kit.
Right.
The kit offers 3 different color schemes. It offers a Hawk Hurricane Mark 1 from the Naval Air Fighter School at Yeovilton in 1942. It offers another Mark 1 again from Yeovilton, different aircraft, slightly different color scheme, and then it offers a Sea Hurricane Mark 1A. From Detling in 1943. The one that before I sort of move on to the sort of things about the kit is the one I'm going to do is definitely the one on the box.
Oh yes.
I mean, that's just
dark green nose.
Yeah, that's just fabulous, and all the kind of weathering and everything. And that was the reason why I bought this kit, actually, because there are 2 or 3 options for this version. The later, I don't think there's a sort of a later version. They were all kind of Mark 1s. But I decided that having built a number of Battle of Britain aircraft, I didn't really want to do anything else. And also, shamefully, I can count the number of Royal Navy aircraft that I've ever built on the fingers of probably one hand. So I thought it was a good idea to have a go at doing something else. And so this one came up, but that color scheme is just bonkers. I just love it. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And it'll sort of open up the possibilities within this kit. Now, this is my first experience of armor kits, ARMA kits, rather than armor as in ARMOUR. And I have to say, I'm really impressed. This thing is absolutely gorgeous to look at.
I have to say, I'm really impressed by your ability to take a naturally landscaped shaped sprue and photograph it in portrait mode when everything we need for this channel is in landscape mode.
Yes,
exceptional skills there. Exceptional skills.
I have to say, though, without us getting ahead of myself, I didn't actually photograph it specifically for this channel, as will become clear within the next couple of months.
Excuses.
So, and rather than take another set of photographs, which I patently couldn't be bothered to do, I use these ones, and I make no apology for that either. I'm not apologising for Kissgate. I'm absolutely not apologising for the shoddiness of my photographic skills. Although I do agree with you, that would have looked so much better.
Yeah, it's just anyway.
Yes, indeed. Hadn't really thought about that. Feel slightly ashamed. Still not going to apologise.
So you should be.
So, yes, the kit is offered. That is it. That's what's in the kit. You can see there. It's simple in its breakdown. It's simple in its approach. There are no sort of fancy things within it. Although you do get separate elevators and tail plane. I think you get a separate rudder as well. No, you don't. You get a different rudder and fin section, which I'm assuming changes with different marks. Overall, the one thing that stands out about this, apart from the fact that it is beautifully molded, is it's astonishingly detailed for such a simple kit in essence. And I often sort of mention this about closing the book on model kits, when on subjects when kits come out. For instance, Tamiya pretty much closed the book on 32nd scale Spitfires when they released theirs. This is kind of like that in terms of 72nd scale kits. I can't really imagine how it would be. How you could improve what's in the box. It's so well done. Everything is beautiful. It's the detail is sharp and crisp. The molding is flawless. The way that they have approached not only the wings with all of the panel lines, which are sharp, they're perfectly vertical.
Yeah,
I mean, in all honesty, and I have to say this because this often comes up, and people will put photographs such as this, and I hope people are still looking at this picture, and they'll look at it and they'll go, yeah, but those panel lines look really deep. That's the camera that's accentuated those. They don't look anything like as defined as that on the real kit. That makes them look like they're slightly soft. It's just the way that the camera's compressed the image. In reality, the panel lines on this are as good as I've seen anywhere. They're that impressive. And then moving away from that, you come to areas such as the fabric on the rear fuselage. I don't think I photographed this specifically.
No,
but,
you didn't. No.
But the fabric on the rear fuselage and the way that it blends into the metal panel sections around the nose is really superb. I mean, really is superb. And almost, I'm almost thinking that it's the best recreation I've seen of that in miniature. And I include within that the Airfix 48 scale kit, which I adored. I thought was really superb. This, I think, is, takes it slightly one step further. It's not over accentuated. It's not troughed so that it looks like that the fabric is tight over that structure, and it just looks great. And I think it will be really interesting to see how I can kind of pull that out with painting on this thing, because when I built my 48 scale kit, I did it in an overall aluminium doped finish.
Yeah,
there was some conjecture about how the real aircraft looked, actually, I think, at the time, but the rear fuselage was kind of aluminium doped, and then the rest of it was I think the discussion was whether or not it was actually unpainted metal, natural metal, or whether it was an aluminium finish over the top of the panels. But either way, I wanted to have some differentiation, and I quite like the idea of the differentiation on this as well, between the metal panels and how paint looks on the top of the metal and how the paint will look on the fabric. And I think even in 72nd scale, that'll be a challenge to bring that out. You can see the levels of detail and finesse in this picture. Those are the backs of the propeller, and you can see how fine those discs are. They really are tiny in thickness. They're really beautiful. Some you can see on the photograph here. You can see that the tabs that attach the undercarriage doors to the sprue, or the runners, as they should be called, are on top of the part. And the reason for that is because the undercarriage doors are similar to the bosses for the propellers, and they're really thin. And so rather than running the risk of damaging those edges, they're slightly castellated on the real door. So there's a narrower inner panel, and you've got like a flange that runs around the edge of the door. And rather than running the risk of the modeler damaging that delicate flange, they've put the tab on the outer section of the piece. So you will cut it out as normal, and then using a sanding stick, you'll then remove it from the front face, and then you'll still have a perfectly sharp.
I think it's also probably, I think Matt Whiting's watching, he'll probably be able to inform us better on this, but it may also be a factor in being able to mold something that thin, that you do need to have the
I think
slightly bigger in order to get the plastic to actually get in there.
Yes, I think that is also very likely. Given the finesse of some of these parts.
Tamiya tend to do it quite on some of their kits, that you will end up with the sprue tabs intruding onto the mating surface.
Yeah,
they're not doing it to annoy you. They're doing it because it is a function of getting something to mold, or getting detail to mold. In fact, Matt has commented there, some big feed gates looking at the undercarriage legs. They probably had issues with parts sticking in the tool and not ejecting properly. There you go. There you go. An informed opinion on this show. Fantastic. Thank you, Matt.
Indeed. So a number of comments have kind of been made about the kit. I haven't started working on this yet, although it will be crossing my desk certainly within the next few weeks. Is that this kit is so finely created that there can be issues in terms of tolerance between parts, a la wingnut wings, that it's almost too perfectly created, and that if you don't dry fit parts within the fuselage, that kind of thing, that it's like a domino effect. One misalignment pushes everything else out. So that might be something that I need to pay attention to when I start to build this kit. We talk about artisan kits, and we've talked about artisan manufacturers within this page over the last 6 months, and we sort of brought them up. This doesn't look like an artisan product. It looks like a fully fledged full-blown mainstream kit from a full-blown mainstream manufacturer, and as a result of that, it is very, very impressive. So now we've got. There are choices in terms of Hurricanes. Airfix make a number of 72nd scale Hurricanes, which are really nice. They also make their 48 scale ones. Armour, I think, are going to produce a 48 scale Mark II-C, did we say? I think it is Armour that are going to do that. You've obviously got these choices as well. So it is modelers who like this airplane, and I prefer this to the Spitfire.
I agree with you.
Much better looking airplane. Is can now build and produce something that I think is going to fit in nicely with kits from other manufacturers. So
where are yours from?
I ordered mine from Hannons.
Okay.
I ordered both. I ordered the Tiger Moth. To give you an idea that I sort of, these kind of will be built. But I ordered that and the Tiger Moth and this from Hannons, and they have got stock. So if anybody wants to build one of these, I think they've got all of the versions in. Over there, and it costs something like £14 or something like that. I think that was what it was, which I think is pretty good. Now, obviously, there are other versions of this kit as well. This is like the weekend version. I believe Armour produce Hurricane kits that have got etch in them as well, but I didn't go for that. I just went for the stock plastic, and the upgraded versions are slightly more expensive. I think they're just sort of just under £20, whereas this one was around about £14, which I think for the quality that you get in and the sort of the detail and the options that are included in the kit, I think that's probably pretty good at the moment. And we've sort of mentioned about all of these kind of things. I think I'm going to put this out there right now as part of our page with everything that's kind of happening at the moment in terms of not only the pandemic, but also for us in the UK Brexit, how long these kits and products stay at the prices that they are is anybody's guess, to be honest. And so I'm sort of thinking, if you do want one of these and you are sort of keen on it, and obviously you can afford it, then I would certainly suggest getting hold of them now, because you may find that when you do want one, they're either more expensive than I've quoted on here, or they're more difficult to get hold of because of issues with imports and all of that sort of stuff. So that's just something I think that's just worth bearing in mind over the sort of the coming months. Things will probably level out, but at the moment, with certainly with issues that we've come across recently, as this is a foreign manufacturer, I don't know whether or not that's going to be affected by the issues that we've seen and by the problems in terms of imports. So just worth bearing in mind, and I think worth me mentioning it at this point.
Well, whilst you've been chatting away there, we'll talk about the decals in a second. I have just actually gone online and found the Hurricane. It's the Hurricane Mark 1 they're doing as a tropical version, which has some very exciting colour schemes in there. Wow. And I've found it at Wonderland up in Scotland, and £11.99 plus £4.50 delivery. That's coming at £16.49, which I think is good value for money. So after the show, I've got it all set up here. After the show, I might hit the buy button.
And go for one of those.
Yeah, I'm just going to a quick word about decals. Having just now kind of like hauled ICM over the coals, nothing wrong with these. They look fine.
Yeah. And that's the other exciting thing as well. I've heard from lots of people over the sort of last few years how good TechMod decals are, and I've even had people say that they think that TechMod are the best decals that you can get because they lay down so beautifully. And I've never used a set of TechMod decals, so I'm really looking forward to having a go at this. And also, I noticed on there, I think those seats. I didn't even pay that much attention to this. Those seat straps on the decals, I think
they appear to have used the yellow run on the decals for the propeller tips and the edge of the C1 roundel. They've either used that or they've used the flesh color for Popeye, and they've decided to use that.
It's the Popeye flesh that they've used, yeah, and also there are two instrument panel decals as well that look like they lay one on top of another, which is an interesting thing. So yeah,
I've also noticed here there's two canopies. I'm assuming one is they've split the canopy and the windscreen separately rather. So I'm assuming one is a canopy that you can do it as closed. The other one is slightly bigger and wider, so you can slide it over the hood.
That is entirely the case.
Yeah,
yes, that's absolutely what it is.
Sorry, fuselage spine rather.
Yeah, the glazing itself is it isn't the thinnest I've ever seen, but I'm hoping that it will kind of sit over there. Although I do have a sense that there might be some sort of biting of fingernails and gnashing of teeth with that, and I think maybe a dry fit of that canopy to see whether it does sit over the back of the back of there. Interestingly, as well, I remember. Scale Models had something about Hurricane canopies and how Hurricane canopies actually squeeze in as they slide forward.
They do, and Matt Whiting will no doubt fill us in on that because he, did all the research for the Airfix ones, designed the Airfix ones. So yes, they are kind of like they have a bit of a strange shape to them. So I'm sure
they do, and so an open canopy is actually the canopy section when it's open is actually wider at along its front edge than it is when it's closed. So if you compare the two and they're identical, that's actually inaccurate. It's actually, as it slides on its runners, it pulls forward and then locks into place, which is an interesting little point for anybody that's interested in such things. So yeah, that's Armour Hobby's wonderful little Hurricane. I like I say, this is the first time I've seen one of their kits, and I've heard of other people who've bought them. I don't think it'll be the last time. I really like them, and I think I'm going to definitely have a go at something else. I know that Harris had bought. I'm pretty sure that when we last went to the South Cheshire Militaire Show, I'm pretty sure that he bought and he will correct me if he's watching this. He bought this, which was really wonderful, and he bought the full spec one, which had all the etch and all of that sort of stuff in it. But yeah, it's really nice, and it's exciting to think of it in 48th.
I know we've spoken about this year about starting to delve into the artisan manufacturers, and I certainly did over Christmas. In fact, I'm currently building the Dora Wings Percival Proctor Mark III, which it's an interesting experience at the moment. It's almost there in terms of quality. It just doesn't quite. The run up is good. As soon as it goes to clear the bar, almost, but it clips the heels on it. The actual molding quality is excellent. The decal choices are very, very good. I mean, this is early on in Dora Hobby's kind of modeling kind of career, so I'm going to be a little bit not cutting a little bit slack here, and I'm sure some of their other kits are probably a bit better. There are instances where, how can I word this? It's the finesse is, you do have to kind of work on them a bit. They're not quite drop fit, but also they're not quite as head-bangingly bad as quite a few of the other kind of non-mainstream kits out there. So, like I say, they're almost there. As I've got through the kit and I've got used to the fact that you're working on something and then you dry fit it and you think, oh, right, okay, a little bit more adjustment, a little bit, this, that, and the other. As the more I've got used to it, actually, the more I've started enjoying the project because you're using your brain again, aren't you? And there are some things. The photo etch sheet that they include is fantastic, but some of the bits are so small that the actual glue droplet to fix them in place will be bigger than the bit you're actually using. And certainly some of the cockpit parts, the brass etched instrument panel just wouldn't drop into place where it's supposed to, and there's other bits where bits of the combing for the instrument panel it doesn't quite nestle in where it's supposed to. They are small things. They are small things that you can see that with time, Dora wings will improve, and I'm sure they probably have on some of their subsequent kits. I put the wings on it tonight and the tail planes, and that looks fine. It's coming together now. So it requires a little bit of modeler input, but it's nothing that would put me off buying more of their products, because they're doing some fabulous kits this year, and I will be waving my debit card at them. But Armour, I've definitely got to build an Armour Hurricane or Armour something at this stage, but I do want to build an Armour Hurricane, and at some stage I will order a Wingsy kit to see what they're all about, because I do like those claws, the claws.
Yes, yeah. I had a look at the I had a look at the Claude and sort of half thought, and then realised that I'd got like a million things that need to be built, and and it was just I'd end up buying it for the sake of buying it, really, and I just really want to do that.
I need to buy them. I say I need to buy them, but I want to buy them so that we can actually share share what they're like on the channel. So even if they don't get built, hopefully they would get built. It's I hate to use the word public service because that sounds really pretentious, but it is that service of showing people what they're like, you see, so that, and we are being a little bit more inclusive rather than just always being, kind of like Tamiya Italeri fanboys, so.
Speaking of which, the 25th of January, is a big day in the calendar if you are Tamiya fanboys. I've never built a Tamiya kit, so I don't know what all the fuss is about. So what can I say?
Never heard of them.
Never heard of that. A small up and coming concern from some backwater in Japan, I believe, but
show promise, not quite up to Western standards.
Yeah, apparently so. I don't think they would make anything that would be remotely interested to me. So, but on the 25th, they're apparently releasing their list of reissues that are due for the first part of 2021, which I believe we're now in, as we got all confused last time and said that last year was 2019. So yes, I wanted to forget 2020, but the fact that we lived through it sort of precluded any idea of doing that, really.
We lived through it. I think that's an achievement.
Yes, indeed. So yeah, 25th, I think they're going to post some something on their page and show all the reissues. Fingers crossed for reissued 25th Scout Tiger 1. I have a sneaking suspicion I'm going to be extremely disappointed, but yeah, what can I say? So
fingers crossed for a reissue of the M16 half track.
Yes, that would be good. Yeah, they do tend to go down that route of reissuing some of those. I think we mentioned the Lee and the Grant, didn't we, as sort of potential targets for those.
Oh, yeah, 25th. Yeah, sorry, I was just about to go on something else, but let's finish the 25th off.
25th. So yeah, so that's sort of in the calendar. There was no mention on their page or what came out of new kits from that list. It seemed to be that was only the reissue part of that list. I don't know whether that's the case or not.
No. But the link to the URL is up on our Facebook page. So bookmark it, and then come the 25th, we'll all find out what's going on.
Yes.
Somebody's going to be very disappointed that it's not going to be a 24 scale, Hawker Siddeley Nimrod, but they're out there.
Why are you re-releasing all of these rubbish old kits? Where's the new one? Why aren't you doing a 32nd scale F22?
Yeah, exactly. Now, here we go. Matt Whiting says, Hurricane canopies. He says, the back squeezes in, which makes the top rise up slightly at the back. The runners are slightly curved.
Oh, so I had it the other way around.
Yeah, but yes, it's a quirk of Hurricane sliding canopies that they do. They kind of like that. And also, John Kubak Tabanol says the Wingsy Claude is a fantastic fitting kit with lovely details. Thoroughly recommend it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get one, really. No, I just remembered I had to go up into the attic today, and while I was up there, I did grab for you the Revell boxing of the Italeri M3 Priest. So I shall mail that off to you.
Brill.
Can't guarantee it's got glueable tracks, but what I can guarantee is it's one less kit for me to have.
To go, oh, I'm going to build that. Yes,
I built it. I bought it when I got it from the Frome Model Centre back in about 2015-ish. And I was delighted to see it there because it's like, great, always wanted to build one of these. But to be honest with you, because I built the Kangaroo variant, year before last, 2019, I am on top of it tonight, is that I've kind of, have we got your attention there, Spencer? Or are you just kind of...
No, I'll tell you what it is. Sorry about that.
He's drifting, everybody. Nudge him.
No, it's a mosquito that keeps flying.
No, it's a hurricane, Spencer. We're talking about hurricanes.
And I think I managed to get it. It was just like... So, yeah, damn mosquito. And as Elizabeth will tell you, the flaming things will munch away at me all the time and leave her alone. So anytime they come into the room, I apologize for that. That was extraordinarily unprofessional. I don't care because I hate mosquitoes and they all should burn in hell. There we go.
And he's upset the dog owners tonight. And
owners, mosquito owners, people who take mosquitoes for a walk.
Yeah, exactly.
On little mosquito leads. Yes, little mosquito walking companies.
He's gone all Eddie Izzard on us now. I've mailed it to you this week, and like I say, I built the Kangaroo year before last, so I've done that. So to actually want to build the Priest is just, I don't want to do that now. So
something we mentioned on Sunday, we were talking about the reissue of the Eschi Panzer 35T. The Skoda. And I was up in the loft rooting around for something else, including the 32nd scale Tomcat, more of which are none. But I came across, I've got an Eschi SDKFZ 8, the little, the sort of mini half track. I think it's the 8.
Yes.
And alongside that, I also found a set of Italeri. They downscaled the 35th scale buildings that Francois had released originally in the MDA series. They downscaled those to 72nd scale. So I've got some sort of Verlinden-esque 72nd scale buildings and an old Eschi SDKFZ 8. And I thought, there you go. I can do a 72nd scale version of the 35th scale dioramas that I kind of created last summer, which I think I'm going to have a go at. But I had a look at that kit. It's really nice. It's got Lincoln length tracks and everything with it. It's
never actually got round to even. I don't even think I even remember seeing them in the shops. The SDKFZ. Are they the 250s? 250?
They did, yeah. They did a couple of 250s, didn't they?
They're the mini Hanamags, as I call them.
Yeah, the smaller versions.
Yeah, and no, I never got around to getting one of those. Talking of Hanamags, I am currently on the second tranche of rocket crates for the little.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can completely understand why they foxed me 35 years ago, because first of all, there's no real indication on the instruction sheets on how they're all supposed to bolt together. Do they overlap? Do they do this? And then when you actually, he's gone again. And then
it's back. Its brother's back now with boxes.
This is outside, just releasing them from little boxes. Then when you actually look at it, what you actually have to do is they actually butt join like this. But the only areas that butt join are literally the edges of the braces for the crate.
Right. Wow.
So you've got 3 braces that have to join together like that, and time has not been kind to them, so they're not entirely kind of even. So as you can imagine, you're not getting glue on very good contact points.
Is this in 72nd scale as well?
And you've got to build them into an actual crate from 4. You've got to flat pack them. You've got to IKEA them from 4 sides
and do it 4 times.
I imagine they all kind of go a bit wibbly wobbly sometimes, and I've got 3 done, and now I've got 3 to do. So I'll probably just cover them with mud or something. But
I've got one of the. I've got one of the Tamiya SDKs the 251 whatever it is, 25113 or something, whatever that the Stuka Fuss is, and that's got the crates on the side, but they're sort of designed so that they sort of lock together. And I was sort of slightly put off by that because it's so small. But in 70-second scale,
and the next thing is it's got to fit onto all this has then got to fit onto a frame which sits on top of the actual half track itself.
Right.
So I'm
on a model that's like that. But
I am determined. I'm going to put to rest 1985 and actually get this darn thing actually built. Other than that, it's a little bit fiddly, and I can see why, as an 18-year-old, I just went, I'm just building it as a standard Hanomag. But I have to say, now that I'm kind of, again, I'm into the swing of it, there is this joy of sitting there thinking, here I am now, I'm now 53 and I'm still building Eschi 72nd scale armor kits.
I'm definitely going to have a go at that little half track, I think, because I like the idea of seeing whether I can create one of those dioramas on a base that's no more than like 4 inches square. I think that might be kind of cool. And I'm sure up in the loft I've got some accessory sets as well that are in 72nd that have got some bits of figures and everything. I probably only need a couple of figures, so I'll have a look at that and see where we are and see what we do. Right, I think that pretty much wraps everything up for us.
I think we'd better end it there before you just start wandering around the room.
It's up on the ceiling at the moment, and it is massive. It is like this big. I genuinely have never seen a mosquito that big. It must be that it's been brought over from the continent on Storm Christoph. And
just typing, Liz, we may need an intervention here.
Yeah, Storm Christoph. We were actually talking today, because they're alphabetical, aren't they? So they have male and female. So what's the next one going to be?
Storm. Oh, storms.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I really don't know. I'm just a bit frazzed now. It's been a long day. It's been a long day drawing Concords and going up into the attic and finding things and things I've forgotten about.
Yes. And I am particularly looking forward to a beer, which I did.
Yes, I'm looking forward to. I think I might do some ghost stories tonight because I'm getting towards the end of this book here, and as is the habit, is that rather than just sit here and drink beer, I will actually read ghost stories live on the internet. Well,
I was actually thinking of sort of opening the windows, but it is blowing a absolute gale. I'm not sure if you can hear that outside, but it is just the most extraordinary rain and wind that's lashing down.
It's holy, right? Well, looks like we've got lots of modelling projects to be getting on with then in the next week or so, and I am indebted to Tim Maunder. Thank you very much, Tim, for the Tiger Moth kit. That's very kind of you. I think we're both sufficiently impressed with the plastic to say that if you've got the cash to get one and you do want one, we're pretty much sold on that.
Yes, we are.
My Tiger Moth will get built. It definitely will get built. I'm going to have a look at color schemes, probably create some masks and things, and then do an American one, which is, I think I look really cool.
And well, I might ask you to do some masks for some serial numbers for me, because I can see me trying to do something slightly different.
Try to do something really quite complicated.
Yeah, I do like that. Don't you think it'd look great in 32nd scale?
What?
That Airfix scheme.
No, you see.
And also, as somebody that's already designed the decals for the Airfix kit,
I can see where we're heading.
You just have to go beep and just enlarge it.
Just press upscale. Don't check whether it'll actually fit the kit. Just press the old upscale button.
No, that's it. Well, that's what laser scanning does. They just
exactly as they go down. Top tip here, people. This is what actually happens: is they go out to this thing. They kind of stand there with like a handheld laser scanner. They just do this, and then they kind of like about 30 seconds later, it's all in the laptop, and they just go, "That's good enough." And they just press a button that says "Make kit." That's it.
Yeah, Matt, I'll tell you.
Matt will tell you, that's how
will
kits-
tell you that's exactly
That's how
what happened.
kits are made. On that note, I think we better end while we're behind.
Before I
like
say anything else.
a bit different tonight. We actually have been talking about kits rather than just rambling away. Although I have been rambling away about kits. So on that note, it just remains for me to say thank you to everybody who's turned up on this cold and stormy night to watch us. And it just remains for us to say thank you very much from the bottom of our hearts. We will see you on Sunday with our new show. So please keep feeding us interesting things you are finding.
Yeah, and I'm just going to go away and see if I can find that orange, because it does seem to have disappeared.
On that note, we'll see you again. Take care, everybody. Bye for now.
See you later.